Good morning. Welcome to the guitar channel for old men. And I say that because when I look at the demographics of people who look at my YouTube channel, it's 99.9% males, and the biggest portion of that is men between 50 up. Old guys like me watch my channel. Isn't that something? All right, we're going to look at, so instead of saying hello boys and girls, like I used to say, it's hello old guys. All right, we're going to look at a couple of the authentics that I worked on recently. And there's a video, if you go back just a little bit, looking at evaluating 4 authentics. I actually have a new one in today, and it's going to be the last one of the play. It needs some setup work. But these ones that I'm going to play today, I have set up, and so I'm going to go over them again just a little bit. I'm mostly just going to play them. So I enjoy playing these guitars, you know. And when I play them, I'll give some comments on it and that kind of thing. So this is the D18 1937 Authentic. And the problem with this guitar it's brand new. The problem was the action was a little too high. I gave out the specs and all that. The nut was just a little high. So I lowered the nut, and then I went ahead and lowered the saddle. And I had this big debate about whether or not I was going to actually do a neck reset. I decided to just lower the saddle for now. So that's what I did. And I kept the original saddle. I pulled this saddle off. I converted the slot to a true vintage slot. Martin uses a long drop-in saddle on this, and I have a video coming on that, so it'll explain all that for you. But basically, I pull the saddle, fill the slot in with the appropriate material, ebony in this case, and then I recut it to a true vintage slot, and I put a brand new saddle in it. So I did a couple of things to it, and that way the original saddle is preserved, although we'll never use it again because now it's a true vintage slot. But I happen to have an old piece of authentic saddle material, and I use it on this guitar. I had it in my drawer of old stuff. So I use it on this guitar because what better guitar other than original 1937 to use something like that. So the saddle is kind of low right now, although it's good. I mean, it's got a good bite on it. It's about, if I recall, the saddle sticks out about 105 thousandths of an inch, which I wish it was higher, but it is what it is. And it's got pretty good bite on it. So I think it's good. I also replaced the pins. What were the pins? Were the pins ebony? I don't remember. But it's got antique acoustic black pins in it, which are appropriate. So those are the changes that I made to this guitar. I did the nut. Revamped the bridge system a little bit. Put an authentic saddle in there, and antique acoustic bridge pins. The action now is like I said in the other video, I said when I drop the saddle a little bit, the action may go a little bit more than I expect because it's putting just a little bit less torque on the top, and it changes geometry a little bit to where sometimes you'll be surprised how low that action will go. This action is 93 thousandths of an inch right now. It's perfect. The action is perfect. The saddle is just a little low, but it's good. So I'm happy with this one. So I think that was a good decision to not reset the neck on this just right away, but go ahead and let it age a little bit. And maybe I'll see it in a couple years if it even needs it. So here we are. D18 1937 Authentic. This is my first play of the day. Gotta get warmed up. You know how it goes, old guys. Plays great. It plays so much better than it did before. It's slinky. I'm very comfortable with it. And the funny thing is the neck doesn't feel so big anymore. You know, before I said you got to kind of commit to the wide bridge spacing, the big neck, that kind of thing. But no, it feels really comfortable now. My skin is really dry right now. I have to keep licking my fingers a little bit. Sorry about that. It's an irritating habit, I know. But I got to get a little bit of moisture on this pick to get on it. My hands are super dry today. Now, let's see what else I can play. That's good. I appreciate having a little bit wider bridge spacing, and once I get used to it, I get my hands swinging a little bit more, and it's much more relaxing for me, to be able to do an actual movement. Same thing on the fingers. I can move my fingers a little bit more, and it keeps them from, getting picky. I do appreciate wide bridge spacing. When I get to it. Let's pop a capo up here. Let's play Charles Sautel for a minute. Let's get that capo on there good so I don't get any funny buzz problems. Bluegrass, boys. Gosh, guitars sound good up in A and B. Okay, let's get another one. This one is a D18 1939 authentic, and I just did a whole series of videos on resetting the neck. As you can see, still mixing the 15th fret. I haven't put it in yet. This is actually the first time I have strung this up since the reset, and we're going to give it a run. I left the same saddle in here, so I reset the neck to the saddle. It looks like it's about 93 thousandths of an inch now. Looks really good. It was like 115 before, so it looks really playable. Let's see how it sounds now. And again, this is literally the first time I've strung it up since the neck reset, so it's probably needs to break in just a little bit after having the neck off and everything, but Punchy. Ah! Pretty good. What do I do with my capo? Let's go back up to B on this one too. Do the same thing, see what it sounds like up there. Thinking about it, you know. I definitely kind of appreciate the wider spacing in the 37. To me, this is kind of more like a, it's a different feel. So. It's definitely much nicer to play now. It's reactive. I'm playing songs that like I don't practice. I only play them actually on these videos, and I was able to pull all that off without much practice. And so that's what I look for when I'm testing a guitar. How does it do when I'm not playing my best and I'm not really practicing on stuff, So. Good. I like it. I like the sound of this guitar. I just like that. I really like that rear shifted X bass, and I know that 37 sounds tremendously good. But I like that rear X just a little bit. So nice. So I'll get the 15th fret in after a while. I got to go measure that action and make sure that's good. Feels good, I'm not having any issues with it. I'm just curious what it's doing. So, okay, next one. This one is the D45, 1936. It is a D45S. So the body is a little bit bigger. You've only seen this one played one time when I first got it in. And I forgot to mention this one is Brazilian rosewood. So this is the correct kind of woods and everything on this one. This is like the ultimate authentic for that model. Now the S has an ebony truss rod in it, and I noticed that the relief is a little bit is a little more than I would like, but it's pretty good compared to some of the other ebony truss rods I've had. I've had to do compression refrets on a couple of the other, whichever one is the 18 that's got the ebony truss rod on it. And this has the biggest, massivest neck I've ever felt on a Martin guitar, which is probably a good thing with that ebony truss rod. This is a massive neck. On this guitar, the nut slots were really high, and lowered the nut slots, and I lowered just one string in here. These two strings, the D and the G, the D and the A were just a little higher than the other. So after I lowered the nut, the action came down enough to where this low E is about 93 thousandths of an inch. But the A and the D were up at 98 thousandths of an inch. So you had a low E and then boom, this bump in the action. So I leveled everybody out and made them even. First time I played this guitar really since then. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with it. I was kind of scared to even touch it, at first, but we're getting over that now. So let's see what this one sounds like. How it plays. Definitely takes a little bit of a different fingering technique. It's not slinky, even though the action is nice. The action's really good. That girth of that neck, man, I gotta put my finger down on that. But beast, isn't it? I feel like this channels my inner Norman Blake. With this big neck and everything. Let's see. I don't have much inner Norman Blake. I'm not a student of Norman like I am other people, but That's what I think I would end up playing on this guitar. I would play much more cross-picking, chord-based stuff like that. I would not be playing the David Greer tune, in this. It just doesn't suit it for me. Sounds good. Good sounding guitar. We should play this one one more time since you're not going to get to hear this very often. Let's see. It'll be a good song on this one. Let's try that Beaumont rag on this one. That's what I feel this guitar is good for. Like the cross picking and letting those notes ring. This is such a big sounding guitar that's what you really need. That's what I would take advantage of rather than. On that kind of thing, there's a lot of notes in there and a lot of flurry, and I feel like I have to make my fingers really rush. It's a big neck, it's a lot of room to move, and I feel like my fingers are having to really go. Whereas on the cross picking stuff, they sit there and I get to take advantage of this wide bridge spacing thing. And it's such a big sound, it's a piano sound, Yeah, I mean that's what this guitar is for me. get up in here, man, it's a handful. I don't even think I can play Black Way without some on it. It's just not flowing for me on this guitar because of the it's slowing my hand down. But the cross picking stuff, man. Yeah, that stuff is awesome. That's in C, isn't it? I've heard a G on it before. That's what this guitar is doing. This wants to be cross-picked, so. D45 S, 1936, authentic. I think I've got it down. It sure plays a lot better, though. I mean, when it first came in, I was like, man, I can barely play this thing. You know, and the neck was throwing me off. Plus, the action was just a little bit up there. The nut slots were really high. And that was really making it uncomfortable up here. It made this feel really, really super stiff up in this area. It's got a little bit extra lick relief in it, more than the other show, and like a 5/1000th of an inch more. But it's just that little extra, you know, that little bit. So the mid-range is just a little bit stiff on this, but it's not bad. I mean, if you played this guitar a little bit, yeah, you get used to it real fast. And I wouldn't play flashy flat picking on it. I would use this as a band instrument, you know, a rhythm instrument. I'd be putting the capo on the thing, and I would be playing a lot of rhythm. And I would also be watching out for my rhythm because this thing's loud. I'm playing it fairly soft here. If you get on it, what's a good song to get on it? I don't know, Blue Ridge Cabin Home or something, you know. But the rhythms there. I would definitely play this guitar a little bit like that. You wouldn't want to overdo it, but when you had the power, it certainly got the power to do that. And so when you're playing rhythm like that, you got to temper your power, you know, a little bit. I would want to have a controlled right hand on this because this could get really obnoxious if you had a guy that was too hard, you know. It too much, you know, too loud. You got to control that right hand and just punch it in there, and then save those punches for when you want them. And boom, this guitar booms for that. So it certainly plays a lot better, and I get feel a lot more comfortable on this guitar now. So, and again, we're just kind of looking for what kind of voice each guitar has. I might not want to play the same sort of stuff on every one, but this one's getting better, you know. You could have this one in a 37 D18 and you'd be in good shape. I almost would rather have this one. Well, yeah, of course I'd rather have this one, but I'd almost rather have this one than a 37 D28. Even though the neck is really big up here, it's nice down in here. It's got a really good taper on it. It's very comfortable on here, whereas I think the D28 37A is too narrow up in here for my taste, and it's got this massive taper. This is probably thicker on both ends, but the being thicker the whole way makes it easier on my hand. And I feel this neck, and it's very comfortable up in here, and it's only when you get up into the heel that it gets really big and massive. And so that's why if you're playing the rhythm on it and you're using a capo even up to the 4th or 5th fret, you know, the neck is great for that. The only place that's going to hold me back is when I'm moving from one place to the other, trying to get up into these high notes. It's a big neck. We're just, you know, we're splitting hairs here, you know. But if I had this guitar, it would, I would rather have it than a D28 37 authentic. Obviously, I mean, it's a 45 with the Brazilian rosewood, you know. It would be a tremendously good band rhythm instrument. I mean, it just screams kind of Jimmy Martin. Or Jimmy had more of a 50s D28, didn't he? 40s, 50s. He had a punchier sound, but this is a good band rhythm guitar for sure. My gosh, a D45, you know, authentic. Well, let's get the other D45. All right, this is the first time you guys have seen this one. This one's new to me. It's coming from one owner to me for a setup, and it's going to the other owner. And this one is a D45, 1942 authentic. So it's going to have the narrow neck, and I believe it has rear shifted X. Let me see. Should. Yeah, rear shifted X. Rear shifted X are my favorite specifications. Let's see. Brazilian rosewood. Brazilian rosewood. Let's get it out of the light here. Get it up there. This is really outstanding Brazilian rosewood too. This one is older than the 36 D45. Martin seemed to have some better Brazilian at this time. This is superb Courtesan Brazilian rosewood. I mean, I pulled it out and I said, gosh, I didn't know they still had that. Well, they probably don't. This is probably the last one. You can see my lights in there. This is probably the last one they ever made with this. But this is straight grained Courtesan Brazilian rosewood. It's got the cool black stripe on it that I love in Brazilian rosewood. Oh, this is a pretty cool guitar. The neck on this is very similar to the D2841 authentic. It's a slim V. It's got a great taper to it, though. I mean, this is a really, really nice feeling neck. The main issue with this guitar is when it came to me, the first thing I noticed, I pulled it out of the case, and the very first thing I noticed was corduroy on the top. And that's what happens when a guitar gets dry. The wood drops down between the cells. You got a grain line and a grain line, and there's a cell of wood in between it. And when the moisture goes away from there, those shrink, but the grain line stays up, so you get this corduroy effect across the top. And it was very obvious. I mean, I can spot a dry guitar from across the room by looking at the corduroy effect on it. It also had the very start of a center seam separation right here, to the point where I thought, I hope I don't have to fix that, because I sure don't want to get into doing a finish on these. This is a non-VTS full lacquer, so the aged guitars have a much thinner lacquer on it. This is a full lacquer. It's still thin, but it's not as thin as the aged ones. So the first thing I did was tell the new owner about that, and then I popped some humidity in it, and within 3 days, all those grain lines just popped right back out. The top is beautiful now. It's shiny, glossy, so there's no corduroy effect going on. That seam closed up, and I can't even feel it. I could just barely feel it, only because I know it's there. But it is absolutely, totally, 100% closed up. So I think it was just dry. And in the process, I know it was dry. But in the process of getting humidified, the action skyrocketed. The action on this guitar right now is 135 thousandths of an inch. Those other guitars were all around 93, give or take a little bit. This one's 135. That's more than an eighth of an inch. Yeah, more than an eighth of an inch. It's very, very high. It's got a lot of saddle. The saddle is about 160 over here, but it drops down a lot on the treble. I don't quite have enough saddle to get this action down. If I drop the saddle down to about 125 thousandths of an inch, the action is still going to be up around 115, which is too high. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do neck reset on this guitar. Eventually, like in a couple weeks or something. So I'm going to play it, but it's a monster action. So let's see what we can do. It has absolutely no slinkiness to it whatsoever. It sounds great though, doesn't it? I mean, it's a good sounding guitar. I noticed it right away when I got it, even if it was dry. I said, man, the sound's good. It sounds really good. Brazilian rosewood with a rear shifted X bass on it. Yeah. Let's see if he likes Charles. Putting Charles on here is going to get the action down to where I can play it. The nut's good. The relief is good, so there's nothing, this is, how old is this guitar again? I forgot. I think it's a 2011, something like that. So, it's got about 11, 12 years of age on it. So, excuse me, we'll feel pretty safe doing the neck reset on this one, because it's a little older than the other ones. Higher action tends to make you play harder because it's not slinky, and so you kind of dig in a little bit more maybe. Let's go to the key of bluegrass. Pins are popping up. I need to do something about the pins. So, let's do something. I'll show you the difference between the playability of this one and the playability of any of the others I've played. God, I can't even do that on this. Not without a lot of practice. One thing about, let me just talk real quick about actions here, is with the high actions, yes, you can get in and you can dig into it, you can do all that kind of thing. But there's a thing about you will never, ever, ever get the slinky sound like, say, Tony Rice has. I asked Stuart Duncan about this one time. I went to school with him at South Plains College. He was my next door neighbor. I interviewed him for Fiddle magazine one time, and I just asked him, what's your mandolin setup like? Because I was curious, I was looking at mandolin. He says it depends on what kind of music I want to play. I'm like, what? And so he explained to me that if he wants to play a Monroe style sound, he raises the action up on his mandolin. And this is 20 years ago, so he may not still do that. But he raises the action up on his mandolin. And he says it gives him more staccato sound, whereas with the actions lower, it gives a more modern, slinky sound, like, say, Chris Thile, who has a pretty low action. Chris has that slinky sound to it. And with no offense to Chris Thile, because I love his playing, he does not have the Monroe sound. Where if you put him next to like Ronnie McCrory, Ronnie can get that Monroe sound because he has a slightly higher action, And everybody, again, is adapting their instrument and adapting their playing to the kind of music that they're playing. So, point being, is that the reason the higher action gives them more staccato sound is because it takes just a little longer to get your finger off of that fret. My finger is on that string for a nanosecond longer before I can move to the next one. So in order to get that finger off and go to the next one, it's just a little delay in the staccato. If you don't, you're going to get all kinds of squeaks, you see, if you try to keep your finger on there. So you got to get your finger off, and there's a delay before you can come back here. It's subtle, but it's very noticeable. I paid attention to that a lot over the years, and of course Stuart's right. Stuart's right about everything, The guy is a phenomenal musician, and us normal people have no idea what goes on in the minds of guys like that. Chris Thile, Mark O'Connor, Stuart Duncan. Those guys are just absolute musical geniuses. They're in a completely different plane than us normal people. And I don't ever notice that, But over the years, I paid attention to that. And of course, he's right. He's absolutely right. So you cannot get the slinky Tony Rice sound with a high action. What you get is, you get a Del McCoy, you get a Larry Sparks sound. This would be perfect for Larry Sparks' guitar, which I can't play. I haven't studied Larry enough, but I know I've listened to him, but I know he uses a lot of downstrokes, and it's just it's not a slinky sound. It's a very, You see, it's different. I love Larry. God, I love his playing. I like to listen to Larry Sparks when I got to get out of the David Greer mode or something, But that the guitar setup has much to do with the sort of sound you're going to get. So this guitar to me is not slinky. It's very hard to play. My fingers are just screaming. There's only so many things I can do. I wouldn't want a high action like this. If I was going to play in a band where I'm Tim Stafford and I'm playing rhythm and I'm singing and I'm only playing the occasional lead, maybe win a song or something, but it's a different kind of solo. I would drop the action on this to about I'd be happy with 105, but I would not be able to play. I personally would not be able to play Tony Rice, David Greer, even Kenny Smith. I wouldn't be able to play the slinky stuff on it. And it would be a little bit of a battle. I'd have to fight the guitar a little bit. And I'm at the age where I'm not here to impress anybody. And I'm just playing for my own amazement, as John Duffy used to say. And I want a slinky guitar. So, anyways. But this thing sounds tremendous, doesn't it? This is like really good. So it's just hard to play. There's no way. Well, I already tried to play Tarnation. So. All right, I'm going to get the 41 Authentic out. We've heard it a million times, but since you just heard this guitar, let's listen to the 41 Authentic compared to this, because that's the comparison I'm dying to make when I get this set up, because this is a Brazilian rosewood. It's got the bling around it, and some people say the bling doesn't do anything, and I think it does. I think that mother of pearl, or abalone, gives a hard edge to the edge of the guitar, and over the years I've played a lot of 40s against the 28s, and every single time, most of the time, the 40s always have this little extra snap to them, you know? I've also had the opportunity to play Mike Longworth conversions, where he took a D28 and converted it to 45. In every case, those guitars have a little bit more something to them. So, because I have the same necks and the same scalloping pattern and all of that, I'm really interested to compare this blingy guitar to the 41 Authentic. So we're going to do that now, and I should play like one more thing so that you'll have a musical thing to start with the other one, okay? So let's play 9-Pound Hammer again, because I can get through 9-Pound Hammer. Still like this guitar. It's good. I love Madagascar rosewood though. You know, it's cleaner to me than Brazilian. It's got a little bit less reverb to it. It kind of like splits the difference between Brazilian and mahogany. I got no problem in the world with Madagascar rosewood. And this one's really good. This is rare, super comfortable guitar. So, all right, there's the end of our authentic listening, tasting festival. And gosh, these are great guitars, aren't they? So, of the guitars, my impressions, the 37A, the D18 37A, that wins the award for the most improved, because I really struggled with that guitar the first time I recorded, and now it's a blast to play. It's a breeze, it's slinky, terrific sound. Man, that one's fun. I think that one wins the award for the most improved. That D45S takes runner-up, because, again, it was almost impossible for me to play. It felt like the 42A. It was just impossible for me to play. And it's very playable now, and all I would do was use it for a slightly different type of sound. My playing would change on that guitar than it would on this guitar, for instance. So what else? The 39A, I'm familiar with that guitar. It's not, it hasn't won any awards for improving, but it's one of my favorite guitars in the bunch. I think the 39A and this 41A are like the perfect, authentic pair. They got the slim neck, which means you can play other guitars. So the 39A, this 41A, to me are a matched pair. They go together. So if I have that guitar and this guitar and two 70s over here, you've got such a terrific comparison of 1 11/16 inch rear shifted, rear X guitars. When you get into the 37s, then you're going to have that 37 D18, and then you're going to have that D45. The D45 is going to be something different, but that's going to be even more radically different with that big neck. You're going to have to really go up. You're going to change a little bit. That'd be a good pair. I don't think the D2837A, that one just is such an oddball to me. The only one that I've ever thought was reasonably comfortable was the aged version of that. And for some reason, the aged version, maybe the neck cut was just a little bit different, but I felt more comfortable on it than I did all of the other 37As I've had. I don't have a real good match for me for the D18 37A. Of course, if that's the guitar you own, it might be the only guitar you ever played, But I think of the guitars that are in here, I think that 45, 36 would be the ones I would match. And you'd also have the D18, which is the ultra plain Jane guitar, and then you would have that 45S, which is like Mr. Bling, That'd be a fun pair to have. But I like the 41A and the 39A. I think are a terrific pair of authentics to have. So, well, it's been fun. We'll see you later.